Welcome to Executive Dialogue. My name is Ezinne Azuna, your host on Maritime TV. Today on the show, we'll be talking about port development in Nigeria, what every investor needs to know. And joining me is a port development expert, the head analyst of CA Borha Management and Economic Service. Join me as I welcome Chris Borha. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much.
Port development in Nigeria apparently has a lot of stories around it. And for many people, Nigeria has no modern port. How true is this?
Thank you. Nigeria has a modern port. Federal Ocean Terminal in Onne is very modern.
Okay.
Tinkan Island Port, when it was newly built, was very modern. The old ports, Port Harcourt Port and Apapa Port,
Okay.
yes, they've been around forever and a day. As you know, Apapa Port was designed early on by the colonialists
Okay.
to be able to evacuate agricultural produce from the north to Europe.
Okay.
So it was a general cargo port, warehouses, agricultural produce. But as economies evolved and people started putting things inside boxes, then containerization started.
Emerged, yeah.
That was when the gaps started to show. And when vessels started becoming bigger, then the channels needed to be deeper, and that's where the problems also started.
Okay.
Port Harcourt Port, arguably the oldest, has very aging infrastructure which needs to be refurbished. Some other ports were started by private sector, the UAC, United African Company. They started the Sapele Port,
Yeah.
the Warri Port, before government took it over.
Okay.
And there was a private roll-on port in Lagos
Yeah.
before it also became government. Right now in Nigeria, there are no private ports. All ports must have government participation and approval.
Is that right? Going by global, the new ideas in the global corridor?
It is involving, initially, the government, through the Nigerian Ports Authority, used to handle all facets of port operations, both on land and in water. In fact, that's the motto of Nigerian Ports Authority. On land and water we serve. But handling cargo, maintaining plants and equipment are serious businesses that were evolving faster than the government could replenish. So during the tenure of President Obasanjo, a decision was taken that enough of government doing everything. Give cargo handling, yard management,
Okay.
plant maintenance, give them to private sector. That was what led to this concessioning exercise of 2006,
Okay.
whereby all cargo handling operations now in Nigeria at our ports are handled by the private sector. So the policies are evolving. They are not cast in concrete. The Nigerian Ports Authority still handles
Harbors?
the maritime aspect of it, the water aspect of it. That is bringing in the vessels in and out. All Nigerian ports are on rivers. And all the vessels are coming from the ocean. So it is the duty of Nigerian ports to go and bring in those vessels carefully through the channels to the berth, and when they are done, to carefully take them out. That's called the pilotage operations.
In modern day, what do we stand at any disadvantage having just river ports within the country?
Oh, we stand at a huge advantage because there are ocean ports. Tema in Ghana, for instance, the vessel just comes and you don't need any dredging. The berth is right there in the ocean. It does what it has to do and goes back. But if your port is now on the river, you are obligated to dig all the sand out. And I'm using a phrase that viewers can understand. You dig all the sand out and you dig it to a depth that you will tell the world that, look, my channel is 8 meters deep. That digging is called the dredging. Yeah. You dredge it and you tell the world, my channel is 8 meters deep. So any vessel that is coming knows the depth of your channel. You don't only just dig it, you have to maintain it at that depth. So as sand is coming back, you have to keep sweeping it. And that's called the maintenance. So you maintain your channel by keeping it always at the advertised depth. So the international shipping communities can know in Nigeria, Lagos, we need a vessel that can go 10 meters. One, give me something that can go 12. Worry, you can't go more than 8. So that decision making is easier. And I can say it loud and clear that we have not heard of any vessel coming to Nigeria and running aground because they misjudged the depth of the channel. And that credit goes to Nigerian Ports Authority. All I am saying is, let your head rule your heart. Analyze it. Figure it out. What will come to this port?
How important is it that we also begin to ensure that deep sea ports begin to spring up?
It is capital intensive. Remember.
But there is costs from river ports, the cost of dredging, the cost of maintenance.
Yes, but port development is from the head, not from the heart. It's not because you want it. It's because, do you need it?
So do we need it?
Where's the cargo? Who is going to pay for it? You have to take scientific, analytical decisions.
So has your organization done any study to ascertain whether we actually need deep sea ports in Nigeria?
Federal Ocean Terminal, dedicated to
oil and gas.
Federal Ocean Terminal in Onne,
okay,
dedicated to the oil and gas industry, heavy duty equipment, fast movements. Yes, you need it there. Apapa Port, where you are handling fishes and bags of rice, not necessarily. Like I said, vessels are getting bigger and bigger. Therefore, you might have to adapt to the international community, but you adapt as the data and the figure leads you. There is no point creating a port that has 20 meters and then you really don't have the cargo that you are bringing. You really don't have the need for it. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, my view.
Okay, but we have some springing up already. We have the Lekki Deep Seaports, we've had the Badagry, we've had even the one at Akwa Ibom State, and we have others coming up. So as an expert, what would you advise should be considered before these things begin to get done?
What are they going to carry? Where is the cargo coming from?
For example, I know that the Edo seaport that is about being built, they are muting the idea of having agricultural products
Sure.
go through it.
Sure.
So are you saying we should have ports dedicated to various kinds of cargo?
All I am saying is let your head rule your heart. Analyze it. Figure it out. What will come to this port? Who will pay for it? Let me give you an example. The United African Company that were in business for timber, remember UAC? Yeah. Heavy agricultural, they built a port in Sapele for their business. For as long as they were in business, the port was functioning. But once they went out of business, it was necessary to look for a new business for Sapele. The business did not come. Sapele Port went out of business. Sapele Port is now a naval port for the defense industry. There was a big port in Burutu, Escavos. There have been ports, but the ports must be built based on careful economic and financial analysis. And to say, if he can pay his way, good luck. If not, be ready to adapt, to switch, to find other uses for the ports. So it's not a matter of the whole world is having ocean port. Therefore, Nigeria must have ocean port. No. Analyze it. Some could be medium depth ports. Some could be deep, depending on the business.
Well said. But still on the deep seaports, the development of this seaport, you notice that with some of the ports, after a while of, after the feasibility study, then we'll get to the point of appointment of the transaction advisor. And after a while, we seem to have a lot of fallouts where, people either pull out from such pacts and all that. I think as an expert, how would we ensure clarity such that all parties involved, it could progress and not linger like we've had the Lekki Deep Seaport stay for over 6 years. In fact, they've missed the deadline of beginning operation. So how do we ensure that from the beginning, when we say we're coming to the drawing board and this is ETA, then we finish at that time?
First and foremost, Tinkan Island Port, believe it or not, is the latest port that was developed in Nigeria. Do you remember when that was? That was way, way back, from scratch. Now, One had been in existence as a lighter port. A lighter port is a port that handles smaller vessels. Take it from the big and you put it there. And over the years, it has evolved into a major port. It requires data and analysis. The most important thing is to be conscious of the government regulation and to say, this is how they do business in Nigeria. Who is going to take us through so that we'll be able to do the business? When Lekki Port was starting, that was when, like I told you during the administration of President Obasanjo, the government took conscious decisions to move back from doing everything. And they consciously invited private sector participation. Okay. And the formula was simple. Come and invest in Nigeria. You will own 60% of it. And we will allow you to run the port for 50 years. Give comfort to the investor so that they will have plenty of time to recoup their investment. However, the government, through the Ports Authority, will have 20%. And the host community, Through the state government, we also have
20%.
20%. So it implies that the investor will have done his own homework, will have mastered the government's processes, will have known how things are done in Nigeria, will have given themselves enough lead time to be able to say, let us go. There is a saying in the maritime industry that the pilot will advise you, the captain will decide.
You spoke about timing too. When the timing, I presume you meant cargo dwell times and all that. How does that affect port development too?
I'm a government. I'm in power for 4 years. I leave. Another government comes. The priority of the next government might not sync with mine. Decisions change.
But why shouldn't it sync?
It depends on the policies of the new government. This is where investors always pull back.
And perhaps that's where the need for a master plan comes into play.
I am not a fan of a long master plan. You plan long term when everybody is thinking the same way. You can plan.
How about we look at it that the plan makes everybody think the same way?
Well, which comes first? Is it the chicken or the egg? I cannot answer that question the way you have said it. That is why foreign investors, they always sit back to watch the regulatory atmosphere. Port development is highly sensitive to political changes. I cannot overemphasize that part. That is why those of us in this business always advise that you do your things in phases. Synchronize it with political calendar.
Okay.
So that, assume a government is going to be there for 8 years. Therefore, within those 8 years, try as much as possible to carry your policies to a place where it can be functional. Don't get caught in between, because the changing over will add to your time. Economic indices can change. Difficulties can come in, and therein lies the problem.
But if government begins to drive this process, it might perhaps begin to look at shortening the time for whether documentation or establishment of the port. Couldn't we have it, for instance, we start and begin and end the process of developing a port in 4 years?
Nigerian Ports Authority has its own development plans. They think through it. They are in charge of the data. They see what's going on. Based on their own data, Nigerian ports can say, we need to go this way.
Okay.
Let's start planning it. It's easier that way. But if a local government chairman gets up and says, I need a port in my area, let's start from a jetty. From a jetty becomes a port. There is not enough analytical rigor behind those decision making. Therefore, being emotional about port development is a recipe for disaster.
Do you think our regulatory bodies are doing enough to help in that area?
Oh, regulatory bodies are actually...
Especially when you match it with our clarion call for ease of doing business.
The ease of doing business, if you ask me, is not any more complex in the maritime industry than it is in the manufacturing,
Okay.
than it is in services.
Okay.
That's why I'm saying, study the country, find out the processes, get a pilot. There is a saying in the maritime industry that the pilot will advise you, the captain will decide. For instance, if a vessel is coming to Nigeria, the Nigerian Ports Authority will send a pilot to go and bring it in. The pilot can say, don't come here. Go this way. Wait a while. The captain can decide, no, I'm not waiting.
Coming head
I'm
on.
coming head on. Therefore, you take whatever risk
You want to.
you want to take. So the pilot will advise you. Always get advices. Don't assume the way it is done in Europe is the way it is done in Nigeria. Have local knowledge.
So, if you were to tell an investor now, in 1, 2, 3 steps you need to take, should you want to develop a port in Nigeria, what would that be?
What type of port do you want to develop? What data? What business do you want to come in? Oh, I'm an expert in agricultural produce. That's the port I want to find. Then you do the initial studies. Where are these produce? How do we export our produce? Where do they come from? How do we get them out? Which one is going to be the ideal place? You do your analysis first. It's not glamorous. It's a backroom job. Once you have allowed the data to lead you, you will get it right. But if the data does not lead you, you are likely to have problems.
Thank you very much, sir, for being with us on Executive Dialogue. I really wish we could continue, but we'll definitely invite you again. This is all we can take on this edition. Thank you for joining us.
And thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
So this is all we can take today on Executive Dialogue on Maritime Television. We've been talking to Chief Chris Borha of CA Borha Management and Economic Services. He is a port development expert. I'm sure you had an interesting show. Thank you. Until when we come your way, same time, some other time, stay blessed.